M17 started in Europe. Let's see, I think I have it in the next slide. Yeah. No. Okay, I missed it somewhere. I'll come back. A ham in Poland created the digital mode for M17, and the big takeaway there is, and the problem with the current things we have, and the reason they don't cross with each other, is the voice codec, the thing that actually takes the audio and turns it into a digital protocol. So what that individual did was he designed a new codex that was what we refer to as unencumbered. He produced all the specifications for it, how it works, and so on. And that was just the software, but that kicked it off. So the next thing that happened was we started implementing it in hardware, and of course, that means you start with a processor, right? And so this is the processor we started with. And it, like the others, it uses 96 kilobits, 4 quadrants, so that's very technical in the process, but it's basically a modem, right? So it's taking your audio, turning it into digital quadrature, and then transmitting that as tones over the net. So your audio spectrum needs to be wide enough to handle that frequency mode. Here is where the specifications are available, and particularly how that works. So what does that mean to us as hams? Well, this was developed by hams for hams, and so you're allowed to do whatever you want with it, and as a matter of fact, because it's open source, so are the manufacturers. If they want to include this as an amateur radio mode in their radios along with whatever other modes they have, you know, FM or D-Star, they're free to do that without any cost to them. And there is some talk where that is beginning to happen. And particularly, unlike some of those, if you're familiar with like DRM and all, you have to go out to some website, you got to register, get a number that becomes your number instead of your call sign, and so forth. Because this is amateur radio based, this is just call sign based. So just like anything else, you don't need a number that's encoded into your protocol. You're just using your call sign. So,
I do have a question.
Sure.
I've seen in the past where people like you would come up with a fabulous open source X, whatever it is. The manufacturers would say, oh, we're going to take that, but we're going to add an enhancement. So Yahoo's enhancement to that would be different than ICOM's, which destroys the purpose of the original software. Do you anticipate that happening? And if so, is there absolutely any stoppage of that?
So the specifications are really well laid out, and they might create enhancements on the internet side of that. So like the other digital protocols, they've created chat rooms and or internet rooms where you can connect up across the internet and create a large talk group. Some of the manufacturers may end up doing the same thing. So like right now with Yaesu, if you're a part of Fusion, part of what you're doing when you connect up to a Fusion chat room is you're talking to Japan, okay? The repeater that's creating that chat room has a connection to Japan to keep track of the list of all the people. Manufacturers might do the same thing to create their version of chat rooms, but the actual protocols and the radios, they really can't change. Here's his name. I won't even try to pronounce it, and his call sign. And the name this is describing where it all came from. He's a member of a club there, the SP5KAB Club, which sits on M17 Road, which is where they meet all the time, and that's where the name comes from. Yep. This is a picture of him getting an award from the ARRL, and just a couple years ago, he got a Technical Achievement Award from them for having produced this protocol and kind of started the movement. And I have yet to meet him. I hope to someday. I talk to him every week, but I told you about where this has gone. Let me give you some real history and hardware history, because along with M17, talking about it and the protocol, what good is that without a radio or a way to talk, right? So I told you we started with just a processor, and we taught it how to do that protocol. But then we had to have interfaces. So you got to be able to interface a radio or something, you know, to get it out, get it to the internet or so forth. So then we teamed up with another project called OpenRTX. Any of you familiar with that? Okay. OpenRTX is a project to take a standard radio, because these things are all just computers these days, and several of the manufacturers have provided ways to update the programming. And so there's a project to create a fully amateur radio open source software for their various models of radio. This is one of them. And so we've then adapted that and added M17 to it. So this radio will do M17 and FM. But before we could get this far using that, we had to, you know, do the programming. So we started off with this kind of prototype board. You can see the display with interface, audio interface for the sound input, to do the codecs and the processor, and then output to the radio. You can change your frequencies and so forth. So this is OpenRTX running on basically a prototype board. The next thing we did, and you see this is actually labeled M17. So this is basically an M17 modem, if you want. The interface back here you can put in the back of any 9600 bits per second pod, like a Yaesu radio. You plug in your microphone, just standard, you know, the two-prong microphone. Here, you got buttons to change your frequency, which in this case won't actually change the radio, but this is still built on the OpenRTX model. And transmit and receive then goes through this, keys up the radio, and then this does the M17 encoding, decoding, okay? And so this was our next level of project. And both the hardware and the software and everything I'm talking about is open source. So the full schematics for this are all available. I had this built, so I didn't buy this, I had it built. I have several of them down here in the box. There's a minimum order, but it's about $30 to have it built, parts included, already soldered up, ready to go. Okay, and